I usually sit here in your office, Sheri, and work during the day.
I would say it's our office.
Well, it originally was your office.
Yeah.
This is the furniture we picked out for you. You picked out for you, and it's lovely. It's a lovely workspace, but you don't sit in here. You would rather sit out at the dining room table because in the summer it's too hot in here, and in the winter it's too cold in here.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to sit in your office. How do you feel about the temperature right now? Is it to your liking?
Tolerant.
Tolerable?
Tolerant.
You are tolerant of the temperature?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's tolerable.
It's an
intolerable. It's
temperature.
a little stuffy.
Okay.
And no, I don't have hot flashes. It's just stuffy.
Yeah.
There's no airflow.
It's not you, it's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it.
Well, I kind of like it. It's like working in the sauna all day. It just builds unnecessary pressure.
Yeah, in the mornings, like come in here and I grab my stuff out if I need it, and I'm like, oh, it's nice in there. And then
how do you like
throughout the day when you've been working in here, and then you want to record or we have a call, I'm like, Jesus, it's so hot in here.
How do you like snuzzling up to a guy who's been in a sauna all day working?
Well, let's just a little TMI. The other day you were a little rank.
That's way TMI. I don't know how to edit video. You can't say stuff like that. I can't cut it out.
Well, you weren't rank, but you did go, ooh, I think I'm a little stinky wet. You know, it always makes me think of that frog in a boiling pot of water. Because you just sit in here and you do your work and you're busy and you're occupied and you're just sitting in here and then the sun is just baking and baking and baking. And yes, to one of our dear friends, yes, we did use the curtains last summer to help with the heat.
I think I can admit that they did help.
They did help, but we took them down. And
because the house is for sale. And the reason the house is for sale is because Sheri's office is too intolerable. She has to be tolerant of the intolerable. Summer and winter. It's just gorgeous in early October. I think that's your favorite time.
And at least cold you can like cover up, but you can't run a fan in here while we're working.
Well,
that would be background noise.
There's all this externally exerted pressure that we all kind of succumb to in our work lives. And I think it's really funny that for me, one of the highest on the chart of pressures is to get the podcast ready to roll, ready to record early enough in the day on Thursday so that the sun hasn't come around the corner. Because I know when we record and then the sun has already come around the corner, it's like watching ice cream melt while I try to talk to you.
Was it like 2 or 3 episodes ago? I was like, my brain has like melted. I've overheated. I just couldn't answer one more question. And
since you TMI'd me being rank, I'm going to TMI that sometimes you're doing some
ventilation.
Crotch ventilation during the under the portion of the podcast.
Yeah, and I often get like if I'm trying to use a piece of paper to fan myself from you.
All right, well, welcome, listeners. We're glad you're here. If that wasn't enough to turn you off, maybe the title of this episode is. I've been writing about addiction to power quite a bit lately, and one name comes kind of obnoxiously to mind when I'm writing about the addiction to power. I want to have an objective analysis and conversation about a disorder of the neurological reward system, and some people just can't do that. I think most people can't honestly be objective about this particular individual. They are too entrenched and tribal to be objective and rational and think about addiction to power. And in their defense, I have taken my shots here and there too, because the addiction's manifestations are just not rational. In fact, they're fucking crazy. I think that's what I said this last week. But I know that I have pissed some people off with the analysis that I've tried to do of addiction to power. And now we title a podcast episode with the word evolution. I want to assure people right off the top that our discussion will have absolutely nothing to do with divine creation or the evolution of man from another species. We just aren't going back that far. But humans continue to evolve. We're going to discuss the intersection of evolution and historical traditional relationship dynamics. And that's as far back as we're going. So, I just think if you can, as a listener, if you can come to grips with the fact that we keep changing as a species and we're gonna forever, right? Then hopefully you've listened long enough that I have quelled any concerns that you have about this being some kind of let's talk about man coming from apes discussion, because it's not. We're not going there. I think this topic is actually really fascinating since it first came to my attention, and I have since then been looking at this evolution topic and how it overlays with a lot of things about our relationship existence, including but not limited to when you look at an alcoholic relationship. Mm-hmm. Was that enough intrigue that I built in there? Are you
sure?
You're just
well. I've heard a lot of your, discussions with yourself about this, because you have to have someone to bounce it off of. So I know where you're going.
Okay, great.
I know what we're actually talking about a little bit today. But
wow, some podcast prep.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Fine. Yeah.
Fine?
Yeah.
You're
tolerant.
Tolerant of the temperature and tolerant of the topic. That's really all I can ask.
Yeah.
If anyone knows anything about our relationship, they'll know that I should consider this an A+ status that we're in. I'm getting double toleration today. I don't know if toleration's a word. Appreciate you being here, though, for the discussion.
Well, sometimes I wonder, like, when you are like hot and heavy on a topic, if you even need me to be in the room when you're talking about it. So I wonder if this is going to be one of those podcasts.
You are my built-in bullshit meter. I don't know if you know that. Oh my God, like when I write something and I'm worried that it's too controversial, I make you read it. Probably 1 out of 10 I make you read before I publish, right? Mm-hmm. I don't usually ask you to read my stuff, or I don't ask you to edit and look for grammar or anything.
Correct.
But you are my built-in bullshit meter and not bullshit, just like going too far meter. You are my going too far meter. Like when I'm afraid I'm going to offend people, or that I'm making assumptions that are invalid. So, yeah. You're the filter, baby. The filter.
I'm the filter.
Yeah.
Now remember, just 1 out of 10 or so blog posts does he have me read.
So 90% of the time it's not your fault?
I am a lot of bit surprised. I'm every much as surprised as some people are.
Were you surprised in this most recent blog post when I talked about how delightful it is to share a bathroom when I'm brushing my teeth and you step out of the shower? Were you upset that I put that in there?
I was annoyed.
Yeah, I figured you would be.
Really, mostly I'm just annoyed that
but I figured you
can't find your own toilet to use, and I'm the one that has to sacrifice and share.
Well, we're selling this house with its 2 toilets and its baking hot office space. If anyone's interested, just send us an email and we'll get right back to you. Sheri, Evolutionary Psychologist Dr. Menelaos Apostolou from the University of Nicosia in Cyprus. He studies the impact of evolution on sexual dysfunction in both men and women. His overriding premise that he has worked hard to investigate, and so we're just going to trust him on this premise. His overriding premise is that until sometime in the last 100 years, men have had sexual power in relationships going back thousands of years. So something is currently changing, has recently changed, maybe not completely within our lifetime, but sometime in the vicinity of our lifetime, a major change has taken place. And prior to that change, you can go back thousands of years and it was the same. And that same was men were in charge of sex. Do you buy that so far? You with me?
Yeah.
Not a hard sell?
It's not a hard sell.
Okay, great. So the bullshit meter we're in good shape. Cultures with arranged marriages, for instance, the family gives the daughter, really the father, right? Because it's all patriarchal. The father gives the daughter to the man and says, you can marry my daughter. Your trade-off is you have to protect her and provide for her. But procreation, young man, is at your discretion. So it was the father's job to make all the decisions for this young lady, and now it's the new husband's job to make all the decisions. Am I still coloring inside the lines here for you, Sheri?
Yeah.
Nothing.
The procreation, though, I don't get that piece. What do you mean?
Well, the man.
Like he's saying, and it's up to you if you want to have sex and have children or not. I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, if you think about it, the father of the bride, there's no name being carried on.
Right.
I'm not sure that, and this is the point, or, kind of a side point, really. The father of the bride, I don't think is necessarily as invested in the idea of procreation as the father of the husband, who might be pretty interested. But, and maybe you're a little fuzzy or a little uncomfortable with the word procreation. The having sex part. It's now the new husband's job to decide when and how often you have sex with my daughter. I give her to you, just protect
her. That's what the doctor said in his research.
Yeah.
This is how life was. Okay. Yeah. I guess I'm just thinking of how the blame was on the woman if the gender of the child wasn't male to carry on the name.
Well, we're not going to get into crazy here.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not denying that it exists. It's just, I don't see any reason to get into crazy. I'm just establishing the power dynamic and how unfortunate and awful it was, but how that's just the way it was for a very long time.
Yeah.
And you buy that, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a stat you're going to love. Marital rape was not illegal in all 50 states in the United States until, guess what year?
1963.
Oh, you're not even close.
1974.
Not close.
86.
Not close.
97.
93.
93.
1993 was the first time that marital rape was illegal in all 50 states. So,
who was the last holdout state?
I didn't look that up. Are you excited? I mean, I did some research at least.
Well, yes,
but I didn't look that up. I didn't want to know. It's going to be one of the normal, villains in these topics, so why bother to look it up? Yeah. Traditionally,
note to self: look up.
So you can foment your hatred more.
Yes.
Traditionally, women traded sex for physical safety and financial security. That's just how it was for a very, very, very long time. So men were in the driver's seat when it comes to deciding the frequency and the scheduling of sex. I feel like this is all well known and generally accepted. Sheri, my bullshit meter, do you agree?
I agree with these statements. Yes.
Thank you. Okay. You seem to be hesitating. You okay?
Oh, I'm just wondering. Is this just I'm just approving your lack of bullshit right now.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
That's all I can ask for right now.
Yes.
Prior to reading of Dr. Apostolou's research, I didn't consider how the tragic history of men's sexual power was impacting all of us today. So, this is stuff I knew, right? Mm-hmm. And this guy, he researched it and proved it out, and he's very, very confident, and I see no reason to deny his assertions because it sure seems like it matches all the history I know. And yeah, I can look on that with some shame for being a man, and I can look back on that with some disgust and frustration and a dedication to making things better to the best ability that I have in our current time, and all of that. And I feel all of that very passionately. One of the best compliments I've ever received as a high school soccer coach was this last spring when my girls' soccer team called me a feminist. I took that as a huge compliment.
Did you start to cry?
I did a little bit. I got a little chokied, and they didn't know why. But so, even with all of that, I didn't understand the impact that all of this is still having today. And in order to understand, we've got to look at evolution. Mm-hmm. Okay, you ready for this roller coaster?
Yeah.
So let's start with libido and sexual desire discrepancy. Our research that we have conducted, Sheri, indicates that 95% of couples, 95%, 9.5 out of 10 couples in an alcoholic relationship suffer from sexual desire discrepancy. Now, in the general population, sexual desire discrepancy is a real and a serious issue. But 95%, we alcoholics take it to the next level. And so sexual desire discrepancy where one partner wants it more and more often than the other. This is often but not always the male alcoholic with the higher sex drive. You still jiggy with everything I'm saying?
Yes.
Good, because that's our research. Let's overlay the evolutionary situation. Traditionally, men decided when and how often couples had sex. So, here's where it gets super interesting. A high libido man had sex more than a low libido man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it was his discretion. Therefore, we can theorize that high libido men procreated more than low libido men. Not sure how much, the use of when you're trying not to get pregnant.
Contraception.
Yeah, I don't think that was big back in the banging rocks together to make tools times. I said banging, get it?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think they were banging
Bullshit.
indiscriminately. And the high libido men were banging more than the low libido men. And so, guess what? The high libido men procreated more than the low libido men. Okay, so we're good on that. Now, where does the libido of the female play into the traditional sexual frequency / procreation conversation? That's a question to you.
Oh, okay. I thought that was just a
No.
rhetorical. Well,
Just
I
see
would
if you're
say
staying with
probably none.
None!
Oh, gosh.
Why would you say none?
Well, because if women were giving very many rights and the men were kind of always in charge, and I'm sure that, there may have been an occasion where the women were interested in having sex, but they probably were also not encouraged to really show that much in a lot of those years out of religious, societal, and relationship, shamings, I think.
Yeah. It was, I think this is where this whole notion that still disgustingly exists today of marital duty or wifely duty. That's where this all came from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're right. The woman's libido, the woman's sex drive really doesn't matter in the procreation conversation. She's having it whether she wants to or not. I know this is disgusting. I think this is a disturbing conversation. Should have probably said that up the top.
Yeah.
Let's continue anyway. So horny men passed on their horny genes, and both horny and unhorny women procreated at the same rate, and thus passed on their both horny and unhorny genes. So over time, we ended up with a bunch of horny men and more of a variety of female horniness levels.
Is horny the official term that Dr. Apostolou would like for us to use?
I morphed from libido to sex drive to horny because it just... Simplification.
Okay.
And I'm not what you'd call entirely scientific. And I just feel like everyone knows they can pick up what I'm laying down when I say that. So are you picking up what I'm laying down?
Yeah.
So you've got a wide variety of... So if you're a woman listening to this and you have a high sex drive, there's nothing in this that suggests you're broken. You're not broken at all. Because the horny women are getting through the evolutionary filter and the unhorny women are getting through and the medium horny are getting through. Everybody's getting through on the woman's side. Because you aren't in control of when and how often you have sex in a traditional evolutionary sense. Mm-hmm. But the men, I'm sure some of the less horny men got through too. And so if you're a less horny dude sitting out there listening to this, getting frustrated, you're not broken either. Some of you guys made it through. It makes sense.
Also just think about the way society worked. We had to procreate to have little workers on our farms, in the fields, and
so
to carry on that family name. So even if you weren't interested, you still had sex just to procreate.
Absolutely.
For the sake of procreating, because that was very much necessary and needed, especially when you think about the mortality rate of infants back in the days.
Absolutely.
Or people in general.
So really important for people to recognize whichever role you fit of this wide-ranging conversation. You're not broken. You're just not broken. Everybody to different degrees is making it through the filter, but the point of this is, and otherwise, if we had a balanced sexual power dynamic, the degree to which high libido men would make it through this evolutionary filter, it's distorted by the fact that we don't have a balanced, or we didn't used to have a balanced sexual power filter. Mm-hmm. Is that all making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I want to really dive into what this means, break down what all this means, because it's entirely possible that many of our listeners are just madder than a wet hen right now. They've known for years about the sexual power dynamic being imbalanced traditionally and historically going back forever. But maybe this is a new way of thinking about it and being frustrated about it. So I don't blame our listeners if they're mad, but just wait. You're going to get madder. I mean, there are a lot of implications to this, and more keep entering my little brain on a pretty frequent basis. And there isn't research that's been done on a lot of this yet. So a lot of what we're going to talk about is theoretical, but it's also logical, and it's also really sad. So hang on, buckle up, Buttercup, because we are going to tell you
giving you a
what
little
all
cool
this
down
means.
time.
Little cool down time. Well, we talk about something that I hope you don't cool down to. We've got something exciting to tell you from one of our sponsors, a big change that is afoot. So Sheri, let's dive right into that. We are sponsored by SoberLink. SoberLink is the premier remote alcohol monitoring system, combining cutting-edge technology with compassionate design to support accountability in recovery and family law. SoberLink has just announced something exciting and new. Instead of the upfront cost of buying a SoberLink device, that's going away.
Do you mean SoberLink's high-tech, tamper-proof, stellar quality, best-in-class breathalyzer and accountability tool?
That's right, that's the one. The upfront cost of buying that sucker, it's going away. You don't have to buy it anymore. SoberLink is providing the handheld unit without purchase as part of a qualified monitoring plan. So clients pick a plan from an array of choices.
And all the choices include built-in facial recognition and tamper-proof detection, expert in-house support, emailed daily, weekly, or monthly reporting options, and unlimited testing days.
SoberLink is enhancing their position as an accountability and trust-building system by eliminating the focus on the device and the device costs. It's now part of the monthly plan. And to celebrate this big change, SoberLink is offering Untoxicated podcast listeners a $100 enrollment bonus. If you've been listening for a while, you've heard us talk about $50 off week in and week out. Well, they've doubled the ante. Untoxicated podcast listeners receive a $100 enrollment bonus. There has never been a better time to check out SoberLink. So claim your offer ID for a $100 enrollment bonus. There is no commitment required to claim your offer ID while this promotion lasts, and you can use your $100 enrollment bonus when you are ready to place your order. To claim your offer ID, you will only be asked to provide your name and email address, no personal details, no commitment, no credit card number. To claim your offer ID for $100 of enrollment bonus, please go to soberlink.com/untoxicated. Sheri, we are also supported by Echoes of Recovery, our think tank of loved ones of problematic drinkers growing, learning, and discovering the lives they deserve together. Sheri, I want to again waste sponsorship dollars and talk to the people currently participating in Echoes of Recovery.
Oh, smart. Well, why don't you sell combs to bald men?
Oh, I've got one in particular. That's a good idea. I put the nonprofit in our 501c3 organization, all right. Here's the thing. The people in our groups, Echoes of Recovery, and also our Shout Sobriety group for former high-functioning alcoholics, they are some of the smartest, most loving, compassionate, hardworking, growth-oriented people I know. They are the kind of people I want to hang around. And I do hang around them. In addition to the many opportunities to Zoom with them each week, we do get together in person, and we have so much fun. The problem is that our participants always know in the back of their minds that what brought us together was alcoholism, and what we are doing is recovery work. And those two terms, alcoholism and recovery, are among the most stigmatized words in the world. We have to shake the stigma. All through life, people gather because of shared interests, and then the relationships transcend the original reason for gathering. As a kid, maybe you joined a soccer team or you acted in the school play. In college, you get lumped together with people in a shared major. And to mitigate the costs of adult living, it doesn't matter what brings people together. Once they are friends, they enjoy the benefits of that sense of belonging. So, here's the thing about stigma. Our groups attract people seeking recovery, but what we actually do is go far beyond the healing from trauma and addiction. We discuss ways people can communicate better together. We work on building pride and self-confidence. We talk about raising kids who are not full of insecurities that will need to be medicated. We address evolving gender roles and how relationships can thrive in a post Archie Bunker and Father Knows Best society. We are a bunch of modern day philosophers seeking enlightenment about living in a modern world with abundant pleasures and a lack of healthy coping mechanisms. We are on the cutting edge. We are thought leaders in a big brainstorming session, and that's why, Sheri, we carry around the shame and stigma, and that has got to change. I want to challenge our current participants in Echoes of Recovery to stop think of what we do together as recovery. Please think of what we do as imagining a healthy way to navigate a world with exponentially increasing addiction threats from media technology, increased legalized gambling, lifelike AI robots, new substances flying under the FDA radar, and generations of kids who have nothing healthy to compare the state of our current society to. We are not a recovery group. We are a think tank tackling a mental health crisis. We bring experience and creativity and a sense of shared purpose.
Belonging. What we have is belonging.
That's right. We belong together to solve some serious problems, and there should be absolutely no stigma attached to that. If you think you might belong with us in Echoes of Recovery, if you think you might like to help us solve the problems and think in unique ways, please sign up for a free 30-minute video call with Sheri and me. Please go to echoesofrecovery.org and answer just 5 simple questions. It shouldn't take you a minute to take that first step in becoming a thought leader. If you don't know if you have what it takes, please take that first step and let's see if you belong. Please go to echoesofrecovery.org. Okay, so let's bring people back around. So horny men passed on their horny genes. Love the professional re-entry. Horny men passed on their horny genes, and both horny and unhorny women procreated at the same rate. So over time, we ended up with a bunch of horny men, and more of a variety of female horniness levels. You cool with that?
Not really, but I understand the concept.
Oh, you're just not cool with the fact that it happened.
Or the overuse of the word horny.
Oh.
Yeah, we were trying to be slightly professional, but
that
was gone a long time ago.
Which do you like least? The history of human existence or my overuse of the word horniness?
Well, I mean, the historical piece of this, that trumps it all.
That was just a little bullshit check for me to you know, to see if you could elevate above all the frustrations I caused you.
You aren't quite using your vast vocabulary.
Well,
horniness, but continue.
I also get locked in on a term and then I just want to kind of go with it. Especially, this is not an unconfusing topic. I think we've talked it out well enough that it's fairly straightforward, but there's a lot here, so yeah. I'm going to use horniness a little more than I probably should. I also want to mention a caveat here because there are characteristics that are passed down regardless of gender, like eye color or hair color. So a blonde woman can produce a blonde boy, for instance, right? And then there are other characteristics that are very, from a gender and genetic, standpoint, there are some that are very specific to sex. Like the person who started this exploration for me, Dr. Menelaos, he studied sexual pain passed from women genetically to their female offspring that was not passed on to their boys. So sexual pain in women, he is, certain is something that it's gender passed and it is woman to woman. And so there are those, but there are, way more traits that are not sexually tied. You're following me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I just don't know how.
I've seen our children and we know that that genetics is a very unique thing in the lottery of all the genetic traits that are passed down. Even if it's been like skipped a couple generations, it's still in the bloodstream, it's still in the DNA.
Yeah. So I think it's important to present this caveat that I don't know, and I have looked and I can find no research. Well, that's not true. I have found research on libido and how it's passed genetically, and the existing research says it's not definitive, and there are more things that impact libido than just genetics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fair to say that a horny, if you have two horny parents, that the child's going to be horny. That it's not fair to just make that definitive assertion. However, what I am saying is I think there's some theory here that makes some sense, and it's worth consideration. And so, that's why I have, ever since the beginning of this conversation, I've said this is theoretical. There's no research that proves it, and we're not that kind of, a behavioral health researcher. We don't run a scientific lab,
right?
And we're not going to do a 100-year longitudinal study. Like, this isn't something we're ever going to prove.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, I think it makes a lot of logical sense, and it is wildly unfortunate. So we're going to keep going. So what's really sad about this is there are all these resulting stereotypes from this lots and lots of horny men and a wide variety of horniness levels in women that are really damaging, and it's really sad that this is all culturally self-inflicted. We as humans did this to ourselves over the course of thousands and thousands of years. So let's talk about some of those stereotypes. Comedians make countless jokes on the premise of men wanting more sex than women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I laugh at those jokes, and I think they're funny, and there's a lot of truth to them, but it's really sad. A high sexual desire woman is made to feel broken in our society, and in certain situations made to feel slutty. There's another technical term for you, Sheri.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not. She's not. She's part of the variety that is the beauty of the female half of the species.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they're, in this theory that we're presenting, the fact that a woman who has a higher sex drive than her male partner, the fact that she got through the evolutionary filter is not surprising. It's not wrong. It's not broken. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And so high sex drive women should be celebrated, not, disparaged.
Mm-hmm.
And they are. I think it's getting better, but traditionally they have been. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, men have, because of a long history of sexual selfishness, subjected ourselves to unnecessarily high levels of rejection. That's the kind of thing we men medicate with alcohol. So we drink to cope with the rejection that our ancestral men caused us. You following that part?
Yeah.
It's a little much. But we limited the filtering of men getting through the evolutionary filter to really horny men. And then we put all these really horny men in a society with a nice variety of women. And a lot of the really horny men feel rejected, and then they drink to medicate. Mm-hmm. And then they look at this and they say, to at least some degree, the rejection that I feel is something I have to cope with, and that's how I'm choosing to medicate. So I'm not putting any of the blame on the women here at all.
Oh, I know you're not.
Okay, I just want to make that clear to listeners too. So we end up in this cycle, right, where the lack of sexual activity in a relationship makes us feel rejection, so we drink more. The result of the drinking more makes us less attractive, and we have even less sexual activity. Mm-hmm. And it's a downward spiral, which I'm not blaming on the women. I'm also not blaming on today's men necessarily. It's our ancestors. It's all their fault. If only there was a way to punish them, but there's not. So, okay. So that one I think is big. Now we are in a cultural and societal age of theoretically balanced sexual power, right? Mm-hmm. It's better. Mm-hmm. Not perfect, but better. A change
in most societies.
In most parts of society, yeah.
Yeah, we do have some cultures that still live this sort of traditional way or shame women for having sexual desires.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
And being vocal about them.
So we are focused on kind of mainstream Western society, to the extent that any culture is enlightened culture, we're not in places where the practices are still disgusting. Okay. So I appreciate that, that explanation. I think you're totally right. But if you just think of those cultures where we have balanced sexual power, due in large part to what happened with the Me Too movement. I mean, there was still a lot of hidden, disgusting stuff that I don't think you and I had any idea was going on that had to get ferreted out. And there's probably lots more pockets of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's better.
Yeah.
It's definitely better. So in a situation like that, if somebody has a change in sexual desire, it should serve as an indication of something bigger that's going on. We should use it as an indicator instead of something to be mad about. So, to put it in tangible terms, if my wife used to be eager for sex and now she is not, yeah, there are hormonal changes that take place slowly over time. And there are studies that show that libido drops for women after childbirth. All of that can be taken into consideration. But a woman who just no longer wants sex, that should be an indication of a more serious relationship problem. But because we are so used to this notion of men with higher sex drives, we miss the signals and we miss an opportunity to fix a relationship problem. So instead of saying, if we pretended this happened to you and me, Sheri, I've noticed that you have less interest in me. You seem to be less attractive. How can I show up better in the relationship? What am I bringing to the table that's a turnoff? What is it about? Maybe I'm not spending enough time with the kids, right? Maybe I need to do a little bit more of the household work. Maybe I need to be a better, more attentive listener. Maybe I need to create a better environment of emotional safety for you and our family. Instead of doing that, because of the traditional societal roles, we typically go, we're married and I deserve sex and I'm not getting as much as I need. And so I need you to sacrifice to meet my needs because, hey, this was the agreement from the beginning and you used to give me a lot more sex. And so you're the one that's changed, not me. That is a more typical way of addressing what should be seen as a signal. Hey, guess what? We're not having as much sex and there's a reason. Let's get to the underlying cause. Instead, I'm just going to tell you need to sacrifice and do better. You still picking up what I'm laying down?
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, it is. I mean, also just, that initial physical attraction that happens early in the beginning of relationships. Mm-hmm. And then that gets thrown back in your face as you get older and pressures and stress. And even if there's not an addiction in the relationship, that it changes that acceptance level of people change is one-sided.
Yeah.
And it's often thrown back in our face.
But one thing that eases the pain from that is an understanding, asking questions. So instead of saying, hey, we don't have as much sex as I need more sex. This is a need that I have. You're my wife. I need you to help me and meet it. I can understand, hey, what's going on? And maybe the answer is, I had 4 children and my body doesn't react the way it used to, or I'm getting older, I'm approaching menopause, I've got a lot of stress at work, and that is a turnoff for me. It can be any number of things, some naturally occurring and some take outside forces. But if I don't ask the question and I just demand a change, then that is, honestly, I think of that as a form of emotional abuse and the opposite of creating a safe emotional environment. Now, if I do all those things, if I ask the questions and we go down that path and I try to understand, and I try to solve the problems to the extent that I can, then what I've found in my relationship with you, and this is real, honest, true experience, is that you become more willing to participate physically with me in the times when you want it, which those are more frequent. But even in the times where it's not at the top of your to-do list, you're still more eager to participate because you've seen the efforts that I'm making and you appreciate them.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I would never say, as we have referenced several times, we would never say the Nike slogan. We would never say that it's a woman's duty to just do it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a middle ground that can be found with respect and curiosity and emotional safety.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Consider all of this in the context of alcoholism. And what I mean specifically is the nervous system dysregulation that happens with active alcoholism in a relationship. The time that you, let's say you as the partner of me, the alcoholic, if I'm actively drinking, the time you spend in fight, flight, or freeze. I took fawn out because fawn would mean you were giving of your body as a way to deal with the nervous system dysregulation. So if you're in fight, flight, or freeze, and you're married to me and I'm drinking problematically, that dysregulation, that fight, flight, or freeze goes through the roof. And as you experience an activated nervous system, and that is the antithesis of emotional safety, then you are not going to want physical intimacy. You're not going to want to have sex. So, like our research has uncovered, if I am an active alcoholic and you are in nervous system activation, that's going to slam the brakes on hard. And our research shows, as I said earlier, 95% of couples in alcoholic relationships experience desire discrepancy. And we've also found that there's a 40% increase in sexual satisfaction in alcoholic relationships in recovery when there's good emotional intimacy. So, if my drinking crushes emotional safety and emotional intimacy, that sexual satisfaction is going to go away, and by and large the sex is going to go away, or at least your desire for sex is going to go away.
Yeah.
So it's cliche, but this is another example where if you take a societal finding and then you put it in an alcoholic situation, you've just poured fuel on the already burning fire and made what was bad really, really bad. And I just keep reminding you and I and our listeners that we've done all of this to ourselves. Humans have done all of this to ourselves. It's really sad. Sexual desire discrepancy is not the only thing subject to evolution as power dynamics rightly shift into a better, more even place. My girl Esther Perel, you know how much I love Esther Perel. She would probably be offended by me calling her my girl.
I was just thinking that too.
I think I should take that back.
I think you should.
The esteemed professional, if anything, my mentor who doesn't know that she's my mentor. Esther Perel says, marriage was an economic enterprise that was about economic security. But now that marriage is a purely romantic arrangement, it is about emotional security. And she's right. The emotional piece is so important. In an environment where it's all about emotional security, we men have to shift how we approach the relationship. And that is up to us. So our ancestors did this to us, but I think it's incumbent on men to get us out of it. I mean, I think it's great when women like you, Sheri, are enlightened and you listen to this and it makes some sense and you put yourself in a position to react accordingly. But we men are the ones that have to make the shift. There's so many ways to look at this theoretical evolutionary thing. And I want to bring up just one more example because I feel like our minds are probably pretty full with what we're discussing today. But I want to do one more. And this is, again, a theoretical evolutionary result of centuries of male sexual power. Research indicates that men are more selfish than women. And I keep citing this research. If you want to see any of this specific research, just email me at matt@soberandunashamed.com and I will send you links to the research. The research that Sheri and I have conducted ourselves, I'll give you a more in-depth explanation of it. We're working on getting things published, but our research isn't yet published, but I'll send you links to any of this stuff that I look up, and be happy to do that. But so research indicates that men are more selfish than women. The selfishness is a part of the neural reward system. Men get a dopamine hit basically for individual success, and women get a dopamine hit for generosity and societal betterment and benefit. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
It has been confusing to me for years, literally years now, why I can sit here in this sweltering office on a summer hot day with our kids in their late teens and early 20s, and I can just pound away at something, working on something that will give me personal gratification for completion, selfish goal. I can just pound away for hours and hours and hours. And then you can come in from somewhere in the outside world and you can walk in to the sauna and say, hey, where are the kids? And I can go, oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about the kids in many, many hours. And that frustrates you. And you haven't stopped thinking about the kids in those many, many hours. And so I think that's a tangible representation of what the science says, which is that men are more selfish than women. Any response to that, Sheri? Does it make you want to bash me over the head with something?
No, I mean, I think that it is nice to be having access to a resource that kind of proves this theory, because you can feel it all you want that your male partner or male coworkers are just more selfish, and it kind of drives you nuts because you know them and that's not an intentional thing, it just happens. So it's kind of nice to know that there was actual research done and that men are typically more selfish,
Mm-hmm.
So when you're not getting, when somebody's like, oh, I've cooked dinner or I've bought you this gift, and you're like, oh, this is nothing that I would really want, then at least you know that the effort in trying to give you something or help you with the dinner is a valiant effort. It's just maybe because they haven't paid close enough attention to your likes and dislikes, and that is, we feel like it is very selfish and disrespectful, and well, it is very selfish, but maybe not disrespectful because it's unintentional.
We're going to take a little detour from this conversation, Sheri, because it's your birthday over the weekend. By the time this podcast is released, your birthday will have come and gone.
Yeah.
But I have something very exciting, a culinary creation planned for your birthday.
Oh, please don't.
Did you say please don't?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I want you on next week's podcast to react to this culinary creation, because what you just said, it might be a very fitting thing, because you said when you make something and you haven't paid any attention to the wants and desires of your family, you said something to that effect, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, wait till you see what your birthday treat is. I'm very excited about it. Okay.
I have a feeling that our third child is involved somehow, because he has wanted to make this particular meal
Tell me what he's wanted to make.
Several weeks, and I have said no.
Our third or our fourth?
Our third.
Okay. Just making sure you keep track, I don't know how much you pay attention to our children, Sheri. Yeah. Okay, so our third, what is it? He has nothing to do with this, so tell me what he's wanted to make.
At least he has some talent. He wants to grill a whole fish. He wants to grill whole fish.
Like skin on, just slap
skin
it
on. Yeah, like everything. the it's degutted and stuff, but there's still the head.
Okay.
And the bones.
Well,
and grilling it.
I appreciate you telling me
this. And
he's
going to be going away for college the day after this podcast comes out, so the countdown of me pushing him off. Oh, well, they didn't have that kind at the store. Like, the window is closing, and I am hoping we get this podcast wrapped up so I can get in the car and go to the store without him, so then he won't jump along to try to buy the whole fish
Well,
or 2 or 4 to grill for us.
Yeah, if he's doing it for the whole fam, I don't think he needs more than one, probably. I think scales on, head on fish, he doesn't need more than one. But no, he's not a part of the meal prep. But you're thinking along the right lines when you're thinking of a fish with its head on. That's great. Listener, when this podcast comes out on Monday, if you want to know what Sheri's birthday treat was and you can't wait a whole nother week, you can email me, matt@soberandunashamed.com, and I'll give you the lowdown.
I already told you that I would be really happy with just a peanut butter parfait
I know
from
you did.
Dairy Queen.
I know you
If
did.
Dairy Queen wants to send me a coupon for a peanut butter parfait for my birthday, I would be very happy to accept that.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind.
And listen, DQ, save my birthday dinner. Well, I'm gonna go out to dinner with a friend tomorrow night, so
That'll be great.
I'll just take a doggy bag.
Order 2 meals and put the leftovers in a hiding place.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the biggest frustrations in alcoholism and recovery in a relationship is the selfishness of us men. Both as active drinkers and in recovery, women can't fathom how this man can be so selfish, prioritizing alcohol over his family, then prioritizing meetings over his family. Sheri, does this ring a bell? Is this something that not only did you experience it, but have you heard it hundreds of times from our friends in Echoes?
What, that the alcoholic prioritizes alcohol over everything else?
And also his early sobriety work.
Yes, and the early sobriety work, yes, all the time, countless. And I think that in your early sobriety work, I mentioned that. And this was before I really even knew that it was a thing. I was like, God, we spend all this time arguing about alcohol, talking about alcohol, not talking about alcohol, you making sure that there was alcohol. And then we spend all this time talking about your sobriety and your abstinence from alcohol.
Yeah.
That's a hard word.
Abstinence?
That's like a hard phrase.
I've never noticed you.
Abstinence from alcohol.
Should be a tongue twister.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Send it to kindergarten teachers everywhere.
Yeah. So, yes, and I hear it a lot.
Yeah.
In our Echoes group.
Well, and this is meant as an explanation, not an excuse, though. Not an excuse, not in any way an excuse. But in some ways, we men can't help it. It is a gender trait of the reward system. Men are more selfish than women. Women are more into society and the betterment of others and family. And I'm curious, because I run everything through this filter now. What if this evolved from the same genetic evolutionary pressure as what we've talked about with sexual desire and sexual desire discrepancy? What if, and so here's how that would look, right? Selfish men probably demand more sex than selfless ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So even when men had all the sexual power, probably some of them inquired as to the interest in sex of their wives. Some of them were probably interested in, harmony in the relationship. But the selfish ones probably didn't inquire. The selfish ones just demanded sex whenever they wanted it. And as a result, they had more sex and they procreated more, therefore thinning the herd of selfless men in favor of selfish ones. So what if this selfish trait, which is part of the neural reward pathway, what if that has an evolutionary component too? Kind of fascinating, isn't it? Doesn't it make you think how many other maybe slightly less desirable traits that men have, at least less desirable in a relationship context, how many of those come through this same filter of men having all the sexual power?
Mm-hmm.
It's really angering.
Very disturbing.
Yeah. So if you are listening as the partner of an alcoholic, when your husband shows signs of selfishness in alcoholism or in early stages of recovery, now maybe at least you'll know why. Maybe this will create a little bit of empathy. I'm not suggesting that the selfishness should be excused. It should not. We should be held to higher standards.
Empathy, no. Understanding, yes.
Okay.
I think there's a break point.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I was wrong there. Understanding, not empathy. Yeah, I just want to drive that home. I'm not excusing the behavior, But the truth is, we can't address the behavior unless we understand it. So unless we make a conscious effort to be less selfish, even though it doesn't come naturally, how can we make things better? And honestly, thinking through all this stuff, the 521 case studies you and I have now experienced of working with folks on either side of the alcoholism equation, we've seen so many examples of it that you and I have an awareness that most people don't. And the awareness is huge because I can do something and I can feel fully justified in doing it, but I can also at the same time say, Sheri wouldn't be as selfish as I am. And listen, I think my selfishness is in many ways required to keep the family on track from a financial standpoint, right? If I don't prioritize certain activities, then we don't have enough money to eat. And so I'm not saying it's 100% bad. Obviously, I think a lot of the men that have survived, it's not just because they selfishly want sex, they also selfishly prioritize certain things from a financial standpoint that allow that family to thrive. Now, has it gone too far on that aspect? Absolutely. And this ties back into the initial kind of explanation that I made about studying the addiction to power that exists so prevalently right now. Yes, it goes too far. The selfishness absolutely 100% goes too far. You can label it narcissism if you want to. You can evaluate it however you want to. But it's not altogether bad, but an awareness of it is really, really helpful. As someone who is a self-avowed, very selfish person, I can attest to that. When I go through the world and I think I would rather sit down and eat a bowl of ice cream than go help this person move that piece of furniture they asked me to, I can push through that and say, no, but the right thing to do is to go help because I know I'm a selfish human. It helps. It helps to know. You would help, and then you'd ask if there's anything else you could help move, and you wouldn't have even a thought about sitting down and eating a bowl of ice cream by yourself because you're selfless and you're generous and you're wonderful.
Depends on the flavor of ice cream or if it was a peanut butter parfait.
Good point. We can't address this stuff unless we understand it. And while this discussion is theoretical, I also think it's super logical. And I think it's really important for us to understand what we're up against from an evolutionary perspective and what we're up against in today's world as a result. We have to make a conscious effort to be less selfish because it's not going to come naturally.
Yeah.
I said come naturally. Get it? We're talking about procreation and sexual power, and I said come.
Naturally, yeah. It's hard not to be selfish.
Yeah.
Toot your own horn.
Yeah. Some of us selfishly like to come more than others.
Yes.
That's pretty good. Did you hear things today that you relate to? Did this conversation resonate for you? If the answer is yes, then I'm sure there is someone in your orbit who could benefit from this conversation too. One of the very best things you can do for your healing is to become part of the solution. Crush the stigma. Participate in the conversation. Maybe you aren't ready to join one of our groups, but that doesn't mean you can't be involved in a meaningful way. All we are asking is this. Please share this episode with one person. Copy the link and send a text or email. Put it on your social media. Be bold. Claim the sense of belonging you deserve. Just one share. Thank you for listening to the Untoxicated Podcast. You've got this, and we've got you.